J-Bone here, and I've got everything you need to know before you watch the 2023 Formula One Mexico City Grand Prix that literally everyone who is not a Max Verstappen fan wants Mexican driver Checo Perez to win. J-Bone! The Mexico City Grand Prix weekend begins on Friday, October 27th with free practices 1 and 2. Free practice 3 and qualifying are on Saturday, October 28th, with qualifying taking place at 4 p.m. Central Time, which is 9 p.m. UTC, and the Grand Prix is on Sunday, October 29th at 3 p.m. Central Time, which is 8 p.m. UTC. Unlike the last two Grand Prix, the Mexico City Grand Prix is not, I repeat, not a sprint weekend. Hallelujah. The Formula One Mexico City Grand Prix, formerly known as the Mexican Grand Prix, takes place in Gary, Indiana. Just kidding, it obviously takes place in Mexico City. The Mexico City Grand Prix circuit, the Autódromo Hermanos Rodriguez, is named after the Rodriguez brothers, Pedro and Ricardo, who are both legendary Mexican race car drivers. Pedro was the older brother. He had 2 Formula One wins to his name, one in South Africa in 1967 and one at Spa in 1970, as well as a 24 Hours of Le Mans victory in 1968, before passing away in 1971 at the age of 31 during a race in West Germany. Ricardo was the younger brother. Ricardo Rodriguez, that is, not Daniel Ricciardo, just in case anyone got confused there. In 1961, at 19 years old, Ricardo Rodriguez set and still holds the record for the youngest ever Formula One driver for Scuderia Ferrari. He was also the first Mexican driver ever to take part in a Formula One Grand Prix and was thought of by many at the time as a future F1 world champion. Tragically, Ricardo passed away in 1962 at just 20 years old during unofficial practice before the non-F1 1962 Mexican Grand Prix, which was held at the Ciudad Deportiva Magdalena Mixhuca in Mexico City, which was later renamed to the Autódromo Hermanos Rodriguez after Pedro's 1971 death in order to honor the brothers. Some additional circuit info. The Autódromo Hermanos Rodriguez is the most elevated circuit in Formula One, measuring in at over 2.2 kilometers or 1.4 miles above sea level, which can cause a ton of issues for drivers and teams that I'll get into later, so stay tuned. Also, while you're staying tuned, please toss this video a like so that the YouTube algorithm likes me more. I'm trying to get 1,500 likes on this video so that I don't cry myself to sleep tonight. So if you could please toss me a like, I'd really appreciate it. J-Bomb! The most famous part of the Autódromo Hermanos Rodriguez is the legendary Foro Sol Grandstand complex, which is the best grandstand in Formula One, and it's not even particularly close. Sure, you're not going to see the best action from these seats, as it's just a low-speed chicane that you're watching all race. But this is not an action play, it's an atmosphere play. I've been told that there's absolutely nothing like the roar of 30,000 plus fans in the Foro Sol every time Checo Perez rolls through there, plus the podium ceremony takes place in the Foro Sol with F1's only car elevator that brings the winning car up to the podium with its driver, and it looks sick. Speaking of Checo, by the way, he is the only Mexican driver to ever podium at a Mexican Formula One race, having finished P3 at each of the last 2 editions of the Mexico City Grand Prix. And I think I speak for pretty much every F1 fan when I say, let's add one more tally to that total this weekend, baby. Vamos, Checo! By the way, let's check in with my producer and brother, producer Jeff, who's currently at the Autódromo Hermanos Rodriguez in Mexico City. Producer Jeff, radio check.
Hey J-Bone, it's great to be here at the circuit. The Foro Sol really is the best grandstand in Formula One. They love me so much here, they're even chanting Jeffo.
Pretty sure they're saying Checo. Gentlemen, I have an urgent message for you. My Mexico City Grand Prix preview is brought to you by Manscaped and their revolutionary new trimmer, the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. Yes, I said ultra, and with an awesome word like that in the name, you know it has to be good, okay? And it is. Featuring a new cutting-edge design and a next-generation dual skin-safe blade heads for different shaves, the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra is pretty much a spaceship, but it's designed to take your boys downstairs to the next level and not humans to space. Manscaped makes high-tech for low places. I've got high-tech in low places. And in my opinion, there truly is no better company on earth to trust with your men's grooming needs. I've been using Manscaped for years and cannot recommend them highly enough. Join the 9 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with the brand new Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. By going to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping with the code FBONE. That's FBONE. Did I mention, by the way, that this trimmer is waterproof and designed to help reduce nicks and cuts. Every man knows it can get scary down there when you're going for a close shave below the waist, okay? Every man knows it, and that's why I trust Manscaped for all my sensitive areas, and you should too. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code FBONE at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with code FBONE at manscaped.com. Your balls have been through enough. It's time to go ultra with Manscaped. Next up, here are your storylines to follow for the 2023 Mexico City Grand Prix. Your first storyline: here's why you should still care about and watch this weekend's Formula One Mexico City Grand Prix, even though Max Verstappen and Red Bull have already won the World Drivers' and Constructors' Championships. First, it's Mexican driver Checo Perez's home race. Checo looked to be a legitimate title contender at the beginning of the season. He won 2 of the first 4 Grand Prix, which is crazy. And then things started going really wrong for him. Now he's fighting Lewis Hamilton just to retain his second place position in the World Drivers' Championship, while also fighting rumors that this will be his last season with Red Bull on account of his underperformance relative to his teammate Max Verstappen. But we're going racing in Checo's home country of Mexico, where he is beloved on a level literally not seen anywhere else in Formula One. So he'll be the driver to watch all weekend long as he seeks to put on a show for the home crowd. Second, you should still care about and watch the Mexico City Grand Prix because F1 is very competitive right now when it comes to podium positions. All of last season, just bump the microphone, only 7 drivers from 4 different teams stood atop the podium across the entire 22 race season. That's not a lot at all. But this season, 8 drivers from 6 different teams have stood atop the podium in just the last 6 races alone. We're truly entering each Grand Prix right now with no clue how the podium is gonna shape up as a whole, and I absolutely love that for us. And finally, you should still care about and watch the Mexico City Grand Prix because if we're lucky, they will play that mariachi-style F1 theme that goes so unbelievably hard on the broadcast, fingers crossed. Your second storyline: how will Mexico City's extreme altitude affect this weekend's Formula One Mexico City Grand Prix? Mexico City's Autódromo Hermanos Rodriguez sits at an insane 2,285 meters or 7,497 feet above sea level, making it by far the most elevated circuit on the F1 calendar and thus the toughest challenge of the year for F1 teams as far as setting up their cars goes. Thin air at altitude has a massive impact on cars' aerodynamics because it causes cars to be able to produce less downforce while also experiencing less drag. This means that you'll see cars looking like they're going to race at Monaco with these massive rear wings, but because of the thin air, these wings will only be producing downforce similar to levels seen at Monza, where cars are running much smaller rear wings. Additionally, Mexico's circuit prominently features 2 opposing extremes, long straights and low-speed corners, which would make getting a car set up just right difficult, even at sea level. And to top it all off, turbos and cooling systems at altitude need to work much harder than at sea level to achieve the same result, which can lead to issues such as overheating and overworking that can cause reliability concerns for teams. Good luck to every team as they prepare to get their car setups just right across Friday and Saturday. They're gonna need it. Your third storyline: huge Formula One tire news, if you're into that sort of thing. Pirelli have opted for the softest possible tire compound range for the Mexico City Grand Prix: the C3 hards, C4 mediums, and C5 softs. Pirelli Motorsport Director Mario Isola had this to say about their tire choice: this year we have decided to bring the 3 softest compounds to Mexico, C3, C4, and C5, after careful reflection based on last year's information, as well as the simulations that the teams have as always supplied to us. This should lead to a wider variety of strategy choices throughout the race, opening the door to a 2-stop strategy as well. Last year, when the chosen compounds were C2, C3, and C4, nearly all the drivers stopped only once, mainly using soft and medium. Mexico also gives us the chance to try out a new variant of the C4 with all the teams. During the 2 hours of free practice on Friday, each driver will have 2 sets of these new prototypes to use as they wish. Once we have analyzed all the data, we will then decide whether or not to homologate this version for use in 2024. I'm going to give a rare shout out to Pirelli for softening up the tires here in relation to last year's tire selection. Let me do some math for you. This math is about to math. A softer tire selection equals shorter tire stints. Shorter tire stints equals more potential tire strategies. More potential tire strategies equals more potential chaos. And thus, a softer tire selection equals more potential chaos. It's a transitive property. And if you're an F1 fan and you are not rooting for chaos, well, you're probably a Max Verstappen fan, which is fine, but the rest of us want to see maximum chaos. So thank you, Pirelli. When running a business, Your employees can create all kinds of interesting situations. Like if they complain that someone on the team always smells horrible, which thankfully my coworker, producer Jeff, has never said about me, to my knowledge at least. Maybe he's talking behind my back, I don't know. You better talk to Bambi. With Bambi, get access to your own dedicated HR manager starting at just $99 per month. They're available by phone, email, and real-time chat, so onboarding and terminations run smoothly, team members reach peak performance, and your business stays compliant with changing HR regulations. And with Bambi's HR Autopilot, you'll automate important HR practices like setting policies, training, and feedback. Bambi's dedicated HR managers are real US-based people, not AI chatbots, and they'll help you implement HR policies to protect your business and give you HR peace of mind. HR managers can easily cost $80 grand a year, but Bambi starts at $99 per month. Schedule your free conversation today to see how much Bambi can take off your plate. Go to Bambi.com right now and type in Bone under podcast when you sign up. It'll really help the show. Spelled BAM, BEE.com, Bambi.com, type in Bone under podcast. Now, the moment you've all been waiting for, here are my 3 bona fide race predictions for the 2023 Mexico City Grand Prix that I'm about to go 3 for 3 on. My first race prediction is that Checo Perez will finish on the podium at his home Grand Prix in Mexico. Now, this is admittedly one of those predictions that I really want to come true, which may be clouding my judgment here a little bit, considering Checo hasn't podiumed in the last 4 races. But there is some evidence to back it up, okay? There is. I mean, let's face it, Checo has finished on the podium in Mexico the last 2 years in a row, and Mexico circuit has 3 DRS straights, which will really suit the Red Bull car, which is a rocket ship when you open up the rear wing on it. Plus, we'll have quite literally everyone in attendance cheering Checo on, aside, of course, from Jos Verstappen, which should hopefully inspire Checo to put in the kind of solid drive that we all know he's capable of. Vamos, Checo! My second race prediction is that McLaren will not finish on the podium after 4 straight podium finishes. I believe both Red Bulls will finish on the podium because Red Bull go fast, which leaves just 1 additional podium spot that I personally believe will be filled by Mercedes rather than McLaren on account of Mexico's circuit appearing to favor the Mercedes concept with its long straights and emphasis on low-speed corners rather than high-speed corners, which would have favored McLaren. My third race prediction is that Alex Albon will finish in the points at the Mexico City Grand Prix. Albon finished P12 in Mexico in last year's Williams clunker. That thing stunk. So in his speedy, new-look Williams that loves straights, I expect him to cross the finish line in the points, much to the happiness of my second father and role model, James Vowles, who will almost certainly be team principaling up a storm in Mexico after proudly achieving his first double points finish as Williams team principal in Austin, and also after I told him I loved him when I ran into him on the street in Austin, and he responded, "Thank you." True story. That actually happened. And finally today, here are my predictions for the top 5 finishers in the 2023 Mexico City Grand Prix with zero reasoning nor explanation. P5, Carlos Sainz. P4, Lando Norris. P3, Checo Perez. P2, Lewis Hamilton. And P1, Max Verstappen. Cue the national anthem. Subscribe now so that I can see you back here after the Mexico City Grand Prix for my Mexico City Grand Prix recap, where we'll digest all the insanity that occurs at that race weekend together. Special shout out to my top Patreon supporters and YouTube channel members at Rated Bookie, Glow, and Green Ghost. If you want your name shouted out in all my videos, along with a bunch of other awesome perks, hit up the Patreon and or YouTube channel member links in the description of this episode. Also, if you're planning to attend the Las Vegas Grand Prix next month, or any F1 race ever, then you need to make sure you have some great motorsport gear to wear to it. So check out the Formula Bone shop now for the best F1 inspired merch you can buy that I guarantee will be delivered to you in time for Vegas if you order by the end of October or your money back. J-Bone's doing money back guarantees, baby, so order that F-Bone merch. I just wore some of my merch to the USGP, and my mom said I looked great. So go get you some Formula Bone merch now. It would really help both of us out. A link to the Formula Bone shop is in the description. Until next time, folks, J-Bone! J-Bone!